going on, everybody? This is MuviesHQ, your place for casual movie reviews. As always, I'm with Helen.
Hey.
And I'm Q, and today we're going to review Bohemian Rhapsody. On MuviesHQ, we review movies using a 5-category system that we judge on a 1 to 10 scale. We look at cast, plot, directing, production design, and sound, and taking the average of those categories, we'll give the movie's overall rating. This is a spoiler review show, so here's your warning. So let's talk movies, alright? So we're going to be reviewing Bohemian Rhapsody, directed by Bryan Singer. So Helen, what were your overall impressions of the movie?
So overall, I thought Bryan Singer was fired midway through.
So when I went to IMDb, he's still listed as the major director, and I think he did most of the movie.
Got it.
So
okay.
Yeah, that's where I got Bryan Singer.
Got it. I understand. So overall, I liked it. Like, it was a classic music biopic. I don't think they broke any boundaries, you know, for just something fun. And if you like Queen, I would recommend it because I just think I like musicals. So for me, I liked it because of that. I think if there was no music in it, though, it would be kind of dry. Definitely. I think the music truly brought life to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my overall impressions of Bohemian, it was fun. It was a good time. It was entertaining the entire time. I have no major complaints about the movie. I think you're right. They played it safe. Especially for a character, not even a character, a person unique as Freddie Mercury or whatever his real name really was. The man he ended up becoming, creating himself. Yeah, Freddie Mercury.
Oh, you mean his real
Yeah, I mean, that's not his real name, which I didn't know that.
He changed it.
Yeah, he changed it legally. So, I enjoyed the movie. I don't think anyone's going to regret seeing this movie. After that, our first impressions, let's go into cast. So, Biopic, the main star of the show, Freddie Mercury, played by Rami Malek. Thoughts?
I liked him. There's something, and this is not just based upon this movie, but there's just something a little off with him constantly, like Mr. Robot in Night at the Museum, and everything that I've seen him in. There's just something that just
is off-putting
to me. I like him, but it's just like, I don't know. If I saw him walking down the street, I wouldn't trust him. So I try to really get that out of my mind when I'm watching this. I wasn't able to.
So you think his past performances affected your believability in his performance?
No, I don't know. It's just, I don't really trust anybody who's done a Twilight movie, so. But no, overall, no, he's a good actor. I think he just, hearing what he's done to prepare for the role, I think he really dove deep into the role.
What has he done?
He watched that Live Aid concert 1,000 times to literally get not just the steps, but the motions, the pursing of his lips, where he looks at the camera, where he looks out into the crowd, every step he takes, every breath whatever that song is. Anyway, he really sold it for me. But again, there's just something to me that you can't get close to him.
You knew a little bit more about Queen and Freddie Mercury than me going into this movie. I'm not the biggest rock fan. Not that I don't like rock. I just haven't really experienced and got to know it. Going into this, I was just wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. I didn't know what to expect. From the little I've heard about Queen and Freddie Mercury, I feel like he nailed it. I feel like he got that bisexual tension and awkwardness. He nailed it there because from everything I've been told and what I've kind of looked up, his sexuality was a big topic of discussion, especially in that day and age, that time period from the 70s, 80s. And I think that's what really drove the movie. So this is definitely his movies. It's his biopic. Mm-hmm. He steals the show. And I was never not entertained in this movie, so I think he carried the load well. But I do know what you're talking about when it comes to his awkwardness. But I think that's what he was like too a little bit, because he was kind of a musical genius, right? He didn't think like the standard person thinks. That might be why he was selected for this part. Because,
I agree with that, yes.
Yeah, because any genius isn't necessarily going to be the life of the party, you know what I mean? But I think he nailed it. Watching that movie, I couldn't think of another actor right now that could really take that spot. I feel like it really embodied him. And seeing other past videos of Freddie Mercury, I feel like he hit the mark. Speaking of Freddie, his love interest, Mary Austin, played by Lucy Boynton.
Did you know she's a year younger than us?
I did not know that.
She carried herself very well.
So Mary, his best friend, first love interest, honestly, diehard supporter And to find out that was like a real that relationship almost seemed fake to me. Like watching the movie.
Yeah, well, I think it's not like fake seem. It's just like, why would she do that?
Yeah, but that's real life though. Like she really loved him and really knew, and like she said she knew he was gay for a while now. Meaning in the movie, the first interaction they have is he compliments her coat and immediately goes to the store and buys female clothes. But from a movie standpoint, I thought as far as leading actors and actresses, I thought she was second to him, to Malik.
Yes. Yes, she was very good. I think she played off of him very well. I think she showed a lot of range too. She was a young in love girl, and then she grew up over time to kind of her eyes were open. She's like, oh,
yeah,
you're not who I should be with.
And I
think she sold it to me that there was somebody in his life like this. He didn't have many supporters who stood by him, and she stood by him. It must have not been easy for the real Mary Austin. And she sold that to me. That wasn't easy. That it was a constant struggle to be there for him, but then also live her own life, but then feel indebted to him. And I think she did. I think she felt indebted. For somebody like 24, she played somebody who grew and matured over time, being the same age as the actress. I know that I couldn't convey that because you haven't experienced it yet, you know? Sometimes when you're an older actor, you think, okay, maybe they felt that heartbreak, they felt that pain, so it's a little easier for them to get in the moment. But with her, that's just something she hasn't done yet.
Maybe she does have that heartbreak in her life.
Falling in love with a gay man. Like, you know what I mean, though? Like,
No, I know what you mean. No, I mean, I thought she killed it for a no-name actress, which probably won't stay there for long. Last person I remember kind of stealing the show from the main character, I think was Margot Robbie. I think when we first saw Focus, I think that was the first time I was like, who is that chick? And then I think we all know who Margot Robbie is now. So she might be the next up-and-comer.
You know her body part.
Actually, fun fact, I think her boobs are real, but her vagina is not real.
Yeah, she had a double.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
I don't blame her.
So we talked about Freddie, we talked about Mary. Let's talk about the band. For me, I thought all of them were very forgettable. For a biopic about Queen, it was a biopic about Freddie Mercury.
It wasn't about Queen. It was about Freddie Mercury finding love, finding himself, finding that he can love himself. He's explicitly said, I don't need you at one point to them.
That's true. I guess when I walked into this movie, I thought it would be a Queen movie, not a Freddie Mercury
that I
movie.
understand.
So again, I came into this thinking, not knowing much about Queen. I knew Freddie Mercury was the lead singer, and usually the lead singer has more of the power or the drama attached to their name. But I can't even tell you the names of other band members. I know they all had wives at some point. They all had different lives. I think the guy with the longer hair was kind of the guy that always fought back against them, and they said they were family and they always had each other's backs, but they never really showed that. There's one or two scenes, which is my favorite scenes, and I'll talk about those later, that they show that. That wasn't what I was expecting. And I haven't watched many movies like these, but the one I can compare it to, I guess the best, would be Straight Outta Compton. That was a good movie. So that's about NWA, but you learn about all four of the rappers that make that group and what made them tick. Now, some steal the show more than others because that's just how a movie works, right? But I knew something about all of them. I only know about Freddie Mercury. I know more about Mary and his agents than I know about the band that made all this great music.
And I agree. I wish we saw more, but I think, and maybe, again, that's not the original direction they were taking. Mm-hmm. And maybe, it was supposed to be about the band. For example, I looked on IMDb here, and it says, a chronicle of the years leading up to Queen's legendary appearance at the Live Aid concert. So the summary is, yes, it's about Queen, but the reality is, no, it was about Freddie.
Yeah, that for me hurt the movie, at least the movie I was expecting. I think it was a good Freddie Mercury movie, wasn't a great Queen movie. When I see here Bohemian Rhapsody and this band that created these iconic songs, I want to know about the band. In a band, no one person drives the whole thing. There's always a leader. But I mean, he obviously did. He led them, but even later in the movie when he's talking to him at the end, like, because he went on a solo album and nothing was good. He needed them to kick back and grind it down. That's true. He said we need each other. Exactly. And that's what good bands know. Good bands know they need all the pieces to the puzzle. Like, some people may not have the biggest piece, but that piece also makes what helps make him legendary. And that to me is always interesting about bands and good teams, because yeah, even the bench warmer sometimes has that thing that pushes the team a little bit farther. Even if it's just the comedic relief, like, oh, he's the guy that makes us laugh when we're feeling down. Like, that's a member of the team that some people overlook, but needs to be there.
No, I get that.
So I want to see that more. So the fact that I don't know much about the band members of this legendary band, that disappointed me about the movie. You have and then besides Freddie and Mary, you have the two agents. You have John Reed and Paul Prenter, so Littlefinger for Game of Thrones fans, and by Aidan Gillen and Paul Prenter, played by Alan Leach. They're like the next prominent character I could think of. I wouldn't even say they really left that too big of an impression on me either. Paul Prenter was just kind of the driving force to kind of be the narrative. Freddie Mercury's queer tendencies, right? Like, he helped drive that, am I gay, am I not, what's wrong with me, or not necessarily what's wrong with me, but what am I feeling right now? But besides that, I mean, he was pretty forgetful. But he had his purpose. You have any thoughts on the band or John Reed or Paul Prenter?
No, again, I was intrigued, dive more into, again, everybody's background, because there was stuff that was hinted at that was never explained. And maybe, again, we weren't alive in that time, so maybe that was public knowledge. Because I think at one point they said that Roger Taylor, played by Ben Hardy, he was like, yeah, loyalty, something that's important in any relationship. And he kind of looked at him, suggesting, and then that he maybe cheated or was unfaithful to his wife, and he did that several times. So it's like, okay, well, did that happen? Like, again, I'm going to the movie because I don't know about this band. I wasn't alive during this time, so I want to be brought back and put in the time when they're here. But again, I guess maybe I have, I'm not saying I have, but I did like the fact that they kept it to one band member. I would have liked to see more, but it's just not doable. I just don't think, then it would have been a movie split into 4 different pieces, and it would have been dragged out, and then they would have come together, and it's about leading up to that one concert at the end. So I think they chose what they had to do.
So Cass, what'd you give it overall?
Overall, I gave it a 7. I mean, it was definitely more, for me, this is probably the most strict, toughest category that I have rating these movies. And I would say that the only reason I didn't give it a 4 or 5 was because of Remy and Lucy's performance. So that's the only reason. So they made it a 7. Nobody else really did, to be honest.
I gave it a 7 as well.
Oh.
I think Freddie and Mary carried this movie by themselves. And because of that, it really escalated the score. But for me, everyone else is just so passable in their story. It kind of brought it back down. So I gave it a 7 to kind of even it out. So that takes us into plot. So the plot of this movie. What'd you think of it?
So we kind of touched base on this earlier, but overall, the plot, I mean, you can't really mess around with plot that much on a biopic because people already know the story. And 2 of the band members are alive, at least 2 of them that I know of. I think Brian May and Roger Taylor. So to me, the fact it was a biopic, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. There was nothing special about it.
So for plot, I didn't think it had much of a. I think we saw a band get created. We saw them go to a studio. They made some music. It became a hit. They toured. They broke up. We got together. Boom. I would say the closest thing they have to a plot is just Freddie Mercury's.
His storyline is totally different. Like, there's 2 storylines, and the way I see it is Queen is a straight line, and Queen's journey is a straight line. Freddie Mercury is kind of all over the place, snaking around it, kind of sometimes it's snaking through that straight line, so it's intersecting with it, and then that's where you pick up Queen, and then it goes back around to his life, then back to Queen, then back around.
Yes, that's fair. So it's kind of the rise, fall, and rise of Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for plot, I'll just get straight to it. I gave it a 6 overall. The movie's entertaining, but I think it's entertaining just because we're basically watching an interactive concert. His story didn't necessarily grab me too much. Like, he's an entertainer, bisexual or gay, and he's trying to find true friends in fame, which is sad to say, but it's a story we've seen before. So the plot didn't take me by surprise or wow me in ways I think it could have. So I just gave it a 6. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 5. Basically the same reason. It was more like a concert with some drama sprinkled in. Again, nothing new, nothing that I haven't seen before.
Okay, so let's segue into directing. Bryan Singer. So Bryan Singer, he's done a handful of movies, right? All right, so Bryan Singer's directed a couple different things that we're all familiar with. The Usual Suspects, X-Men, X-Men 2, Superman Returns, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, The Gifted, and he's done this. So he's done a lot of superhero movies, which has been a big buzz in the movie industry world right now. So him doing a biopic, I don't want to say it's out of left field, but interesting choice, and I think he did an all right job. But what I want to talk about for his direction, I think he played it really safe. And I want to say that this movie was more of a Queen's Greatest Hits album, a visual album, more than a movie, which very entertaining, enjoyed it the whole way through. But it just kind of went from, oh, hey, we're thinking about this, and then we'll go straight to a concert. Hey, we're thinking about this, we'll go straight to a concert. Hey, we're going straight to this, go to like a movie premiere or some kind of thing. So I feel like it was more of a Queen's Greatest Hits. What I would have liked to seen was, I think I talked about it earlier, more about the band and their story and what made each member of the band different and how they developed to the Queen name. But then that also brings up the debate, is that more of a documentary or is it a movie? So I think Bryan Singer took the more movie approach, and I think maybe what I'm trying to find is a documentary on Queen that I haven't looked up yet. So I don't want to say that it was a bad directed movie. It maybe just wasn't what I expected, but I respect the fact that he leaned one more direction one way. They're trying to meet somewhere in the middle. He said, I'm going to make a movie broadcasting what I think is great about Queen, and maybe people will go do more research on this band. So that's what I thought about directing. I thought it was safely done. Nothing. I think he could have took a lot more risks. Could have gone into Freddie's homosexuality a little bit more. He could have gone into drugs and get into his psyche a little bit more in some creative ways. But it was safe. It was entertaining. I don't think he should really be truly penalized on what he did. What do you think, Helen?
Yeah, I don't think he should be penalized at all. I just think this was a different genre for him that he really may have stepped into a little too early. Not too early, but just done more research about it. Because to me, it really did feel like, I'm a fan of Queen and I want to make this movie. And that was it. Like, this is my favorite song. I know there's a little background here. It just missed something from a directing standpoint.
I don't think it never got too personal. Like, I don't think this movie shined any light on anything we had no clue about Queen. This is something you can pull together just by kind of browsing the internet and looking at a couple of videos, everything you gather from this movie. Like, the only thing that really surprised me, like, he's, Indian? Or what was it?
I think so, right?
Yeah, he's Indian or Middle Eastern. He's something that I was like, I had zero clue he was that at all. Like, that was something I would have liked to see more of that in the movie. Like, oh, that's what makes this character different. That's what makes that band character different. Like, I never would have known that. These inside, behind the scenes looks at this band member, because we know the music they've made. You can look up that anytime. We know that he was homosexual, but did that really eat at him, or was he comfortable with it? Like, we don't really know. And they kind of glimpsed that a little bit in him taking all the blame for all the cross-dressing and how his name kind of became, as Queen. He kind of became Queen, not trying to be, it seemed like, from the movie's perspective. But I think this movie could have left his mark if it took some risk, and I don't think it did that. So for me, I gave directing a 6.
I gave it a 4.
4.
Yeah, it just really didn't. It just didn't hit the mark for me.
Okay, now down to production design. So this took place in 1970s, 1985-ish, around that time. So we go from London to America. There's a world tour in America. Go around London a little bit. So what did you think about the world we were put in?
I liked it. I thought it was, I guess, true to the times again. Wasn't born during the 70s or 80s. Or live. But from pictures I've seen, I think they nailed it. I did like how everything was above and beyond and bigger than life. Like the clothes. Oh, the clothes were awful, which means they nailed it. And I think the setting and the clothes, everything, I think they became part of the movie. They became a character on their own accord. So I liked it a lot. I don't really have much more to say than that. I gave it a 7.
I give production design an 8. So after the movie, I went on YouTube a little bit trying to look up Queen, and some of them are image by image recreations of their concerts and what they've done, his performances, and the band members, the way they perform, the way Freddie Mercury performs. They're mimicking. They're if you've never seen Queen, I think you could easily get them confused by looking at what they're doing and what they're wearing and the time, the fashion, everything. And Live Aid, I don't know, we looked up Live Aid not too long before we started this show, and it's a shot for shot. Like if you didn't know any better, you would think it's the exact same thing. So the fact that they were able to recreate that, I think some of the older audiences that have actually seen Queen, I think they would agree that they nailed it. So I gave it an 8. I think they killed it. The fact that it's real life and you have plenty of things to look at, it wasn't anything special to bring it up to that higher thing. So that brings to our last category, sound. What do you think, Helen?
I gave that a 7 as well. Nothing spectacular, because if you think about it, the sounds were already there. Like for the music, nailing that concert again already existed. They didn't really add anything to it.
Okay, so I gave it a 10.
I don't. That's pretty short, but
no, just say what you say. So I gave it a 10, and here's why. So you're right, the music's already there. My biggest complaint about this movie is the reason why I gave it a 10. This movie is a Queen's Greatest Hits album in visual form. So I would say this is one of the most expensive music videos that we've ever seen. And the fact that it goes from, okay, what do we know about Queen? We learn a little bit about Queen. They go to the studio. You see the bits and pieces that make up the movie or make up the song, and it goes into a song. So the fact that we were able to, the music drove the whole movie. You said it earlier, if you take the music out of this movie, it's a terrible movie. But the fact that it was still entertaining, it still worked, and that the music drove every step of the way, I gave it a 10 because I think without the songs...
But that's the thing, the music already existed. So you're saying the sound was good, but they didn't add anything.
I don't think you need to add anything. I mean, this isn't...
So you're saying two different things. Music and sound are two different things.
It's all in this category.
But then I would break that up differently, just for the sake of this, because it is a biopic. Do you know what I'm saying?
So, I would disagree.
Their music, for example, at the concert,
mm-hmm.
their music is different than the sound of the crowd, the stomping of the feet.
I understand that. But it's overall.
Okay.
So like sound like with sound effects in like the world and everything like that, right? This is a biopic about a rock band. Their music carries the movie. Without their songs, because you can make a movie about Queen or Freddie Mercury without playing one lick a song. We can watch a sports movie without showing sports. So they could have gone in the direction of just going on the band, like, hey, we're doing a concert, show like 30 seconds of the concert and cut to another clip after that. Like, they could have done that. That would have been the riskier choice. But because of the way Bryan Singer wanted to make this movie, he made it a Queen's Greatest Hits visual album. And because he chose that, and it worked, because the movie worked. It's entertaining the whole way through. But he used their music to drive the movie.
Okay.
So it was an interesting way to do it. I think this would have been a phenomenal movie if he found a way to do that and teach us more about the band. But that's hard to do. So he just said, you know what, I'm going to play... To me, I think he played it safe. He just stuck to the music because no matter what, if you use the music, people are going to enjoy it because, I mean, one of the best bands ever, right? But since the music drove the story that well, I gave it a 10 because... Yes, we didn't hear the sound effects and everything like that, but the fact that you were able to tell a story, and if you look at the songs, they were telling a story. Like when you first hear the one about Mary, that she loves her,
mm-hmm.
He's doing it in front of that one manager. He's telling a story with the song, Bohemian Rhapsody. We never even hear Bohemian Rhapsody to the very end of the movie, but you saw them create it in the iconic, like the opera part and everything like that, and them explaining. Yeah, them explaining how they're going to make it, going to a studio producer saying, we're Queen, we do it different. That's what's going to make us special. So, like, yes, those scenes weren't long, but them making music drove the whole story if you look at it in that way. Now, again, like I said, that's why directing I gave a lower score. I would like to see it a little different, but because they did that and it worked, I think sound gets elevated in our grading scale.
And I understand that.
Okay. So that's why I gave it a 10. First 10 I think we've given on the show, right? At least I've given.
Yeah.
I'm impressed to see the first one gets a 10 from you. You're definitely a lot stricter grader than me. But nothing wrong with that.
We'll see.
So
if it happens.
So before we go our overall score, what do you think was the best scene from this movie?
The Live Aid concerts. Because, one, is recreated beautifully. I've watched the side-by-side of the real Freddie and Rami.
That's Rami. Malik.
Doing it, and it's incredible. It's incredible. It truly is incredible. I got chills watching that scene, and it really is the closest I'll ever come to seeing Queen in concert. And I love that scene. I also like the fact that it wasn't all about Freddie. So you got to see Mary and then his new boy toy in the background, how they were reacting. You were seeing truly, I mean, you already knew the power that Freddie had over a crowd. But when it's like,
oh,
yeah, when it's literally like million people, they said, watching, that's incredible.
And they were old at the time too. Like they were old news apparently.
Older.
Yeah, and they still had the impact.
Yeah. You saw them how like their, and I don't know if this is true, but their contribution to the concert like alone raised it to $1 million. If that's
at the show
true,
in the movie, yeah.
Yeah, if that's true or not, I don't know. But again, it just showed the power that they held on people, or impact that they had on people. And then I think at the same time, because Mary was there, she got to see Freddie become who she always knew he would become, but it wasn't necessarily because of her. And she got friendly with his new boy toy, and I think that was her way of saying, you know, like, I'll always stand by you, but like this is your turn, kind of thing. So I think it said a lot without saying anything at all.
Okay. So my favorite scene, which I think I've alluded to plenty of times already, I want to see more of the band and how they interacted. So I really liked when they kind of went into that cottage or woods and just started recording for, I think, their first album. You see Freddie and his crew just experimenting and doing weird things with the music and doing all these, just making the music. Well, how they do it, like, oh, let's try this, do it again. Like, what are you trying to do, Freddie? Like, I don't, like, what do you want from me? Just that confusion from the kind of genius. You saw the genius in Freddie. You saw his band messing around. You saw that kind of the selfishness of the band. Like, I want to make a song about a car. Like, it's a bad song. This is not a good song. Like, that banter. Like, that's how great music is made, from trial and error and mistakes. And I wanted a movie all of that. It's not what I got. Still entertaining movie, but I really enjoyed that scene, and I wish I saw more of that. But maybe I should see a Queen documentary. That might be what I have to go do. That might be what I'm asking for. So maybe I have to look that up later. But that was my favorite scene. I really enjoyed that scene. It was pretty early in the movie, but I wanted more of that. So what did you think was the worst scene or least favorite scene of this movie?
I really didn't have a least favorite scene. Oh, there's one cheesy one that I found cheesy, and I don't, like, I love some good cheesy. When it's bad cheesy, it's just like, and it was when Freddie finds out he has AIDS, and there's that one guy sitting there, he's like, hey-oh, he goes, hey-oh. I was like, come on, just, like, let it go. Like, it would have been more meaningful if it didn't happen. Like, and
you just realized the guy recognized it was him, and then
you kind of saw just his reaction, and he just walked out. Because when he had a hat on, he had his glasses on, like, he obviously did not want to be recognized.
I get what you're saying. It was a little corny, but I think the fact that it was in a private area made it less corny, if that makes sense. It was a more intimate moment.
I don't know. It just was kind of weird to me. It was the only scene that made me roll my eyes. I was like, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
We didn't have to go there, but we did.
Yeah. I'm with you though. I didn't have. It took me. Nothing glared at me like this is awful. The only thing I really have to whine about was kind of two scenes. So we saw the scene when the manager and the two managers are in his car, and one guy brings up the solo career, and he immediately fires him. Like, get out, fires him.
Oh yeah, that was.
So that happened, but then like real soon after that, he comes to the band like, I'm having a solo career. That was like jarring to me, and I was like, what? You just fired a man you've been with for years over mentioning a solo career, and you decide to do it?
Well, that's because of Paul.
Well, it was because of Paul, but it didn't fit. It didn't fit for me. It didn't make sense. So I didn't like that. But anyway, overall, what you give the movie, Helen?
A 6.
6 overall?
Yep.
And I gave it a 7.4. So any final thoughts on the movie? Anyone who you think is for? What do you think we...
Overall, if you like musicals, you'll probably like it because it is about making an album, or not an album, a band. So you get to, there's a lot of scenes where it's just singing, and I really like that. But overall, like, I would recommend it. I wouldn't recommend you buy tickets for it and go see it in the theaters necessarily, except for that Live Aid scene, which if you had seen that in IMAX, we probably would have been super duper blown away, as opposed to just like, wow, this is awesome. But that being said, one scene is not enough reason to go see in theaters, in my opinion. So.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I stand by what I said. This is a Queen's greatest hits visual album. If you love Queen, you love rock and roll, you're going to love this movie. If you want to know more about Queen and their backstories, you're going to be a little disappointed, but you will have a good jumping off point to go do some research on your own if that's what you're into. I really like the movie. 7.2 is an average movie. I'll watch it again. I'll recommend it to people, but nothing that's going to blow me away. I don't think it'll blow anyone else really away. But I think you know what you're going to get. You've seen the trailers. I think you know what you're going to get in the movie, so... that's all I'll say about that. Anything else you want to say, Helen?
No. It was a good movie. It was nothing spectacular. It didn't blow me away, but...
Gotcha.
You know, it's Oscar season, so I'm ready.
Uh-oh. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed this podcast. Leave comments so we can continue to grow as a community. We love hearing what you guys have to say. And as always, I'm Q.
And I'm Helen.
And this is MuviesHQ signing off.